Welcome to Season 2 of Common Time Podcast. I'm David Clemmer.
And I'm John Pasquale.
And we're back to inspire and empower music educators with practical advice, thought-provoking conversations, and stories from some of the best in the business. Let's dive into another incredible episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final episode of Season 2 of Common Time Podcast. We are so glad that you're with us. Gosh, time flies, John. Here we are.
Does. Man, Season 2, how about that? We've talked to a lot of people.
Yeah, we really have. So now this is our 32nd episode.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really great. I get excited every time we take the opportunity to do this. Obviously, I get to see you, John, which is fantastic. But the guests that we've had the pleasure, the honor really of bringing on and getting to talk to I walk away learning something every single time.
Agreed.
And which has somewhat reinforced the idea of why we're doing this, that this is, we're wanting to give back to the profession, but also we are lifelong learners and we have to grasp that and hold on to that and send that out into the world. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And last season, we ended by answering questions from all of you that are out there. So listener submitted questions. And I think we have a few that John and I are going to do our best to answer. So John, why don't you get us started as usual?
Indeed. So our first question is, what's one thing that you wish you had known your first year teaching? What a great question.
Do you want to take it? Do you want to take it? Do you want me to take
please,
it?
you go ahead. And then I'll fill in.
One thing I had known my first year teaching. Oh man, that's a huge question.
That's a
you
tall
think about
order
it,
question, indeed.
When I first, the first time you jump into that, I don't know what you felt like, John, but I felt like I was there. If there's a big bucket of knowledge that's out there, I had like a thimble size of it that someone had poured on the top.
So I was on the other side of that bucket. If there was a bucket, I was in the other room from that bucket.
Oh, that's so funny. So, to look at that and go, okay, what's the one thing I wish I had known? I think that would probably be it, that there is so much walking into it that, you graduate with a degree and you've gone through the coursework and to some degree, you do feel empowered. Like, I can go do this now. And then you're into it and you realize that, oh, yeah, I don't know that. I really didn't. And I made mistakes in my first year or two that I will tell you, okay, this is it then. I wish that I had been told and embraced the idea that I needed to ask questions constantly of everyone around me. Not just the people that I worked with, but to be in other people's band rehearsals, go to contests and listen and ask questions, see who's being successful, and then hunt them down and corner them and ask them questions about, hey, how did you do that? And I started doing that a little bit with Janine Belcher. And Janine was the sister to Greg and Jerry Hull. And she taught in my district. I was in North Dallas and Carrollton Farmers Branch when I first started teaching. And her brothers were over in Haltom. And I had taught privately for Jerry. So I kind of knew the family. And then obviously Greg at Haltom High School was sort of a perennial and just incredible program. And it still is to Donnie Hull. You're out there. Thank you. But that I had started having conversations with Janine, and I remember her asking me questions about, well, what do you think about this on clarinet? And like my brain's like chirp chirp, silence in my brain. But it was helpful, and that was just at sitting around at all region auditions or in a break room of those within the district. It was really, I wish I had done that more, because I learned more in probably 10 minutes talking to Janine than I did. And I'm sorry, this just happens. College, they try to put as much in as possible, and there's just not enough time. But in 10 minutes of time with Janine, I really learned a significant amount about, we were talking about clarinet articulation. I remember it specifically. And then after that, across town was another fabulous clarinetist, Sherry Miller. And I had questions with her about, okay, I have these clarinets that I could make a good sound on clarinet, and that's it. But I didn't know, what do I need to be doing? And you can't see this unless you're watching on YouTube, but I was doing pinky exercises. Here were the things that she was doing with younger clarinetists that they would need to be able to do down the road. And I was starting with these pinky exercises you do with the FC key and all that. I didn't know that. I am a trumpet player. I use three fingers and my slide. That was it. So I did learn that. I remember those conversations, but I didn't aggressively go after knowledge then. And over time I did. I think after my master's degree, I started realizing like, man, I really have to learn more, read more, study more, talk more, ask more questions, and then ask better questions
Better questions.
as I got older. So that's a long answer. I don't know if
No,
that's my answer.
and this actually kind of brings up a point. I'm always surprised when I go do um, gigs across the country where I'm in a room, and it isn't just me. It's people that are our age and older who are sitting in a room, and there are young teachers in the room, and they are at a distance,
Hmm.
and I find that very strange. When I was uh, out of school, man, I asked every single person every single question that I could possibly come up with because I knew that I had a lot to learn. I'm not suggesting that the two of us, have all the answers, if any answers,
Oh no.
but I still think it's important for any young teacher that's there, go to region clinics, go to all state
Mm-hmm.
clinics, go to, I mean, anything that there are people that are older than you that have been teaching for a while, and just listen and ask questions. First, listen though, because I think that's an important one too. So when I was teaching with Amanda Drinkwater, who is one of the smartest people I've ever known, I remember this vividly. We were at TMEA one time, and we were at a table. It was at a social event, and we were at a table with about 20 people. I was the youngest person. I started to speak, and she's like, "Don't speak, listen." I'll never forget it. And I think about that a lot because she was so right. The people that were at that table, I can't remember all of them, but there were some high profile teachers there that have been extremely successful. The whole point of that was just listen, and just listen to the conversations that they're having, right? Because it kind of makes you wonder, what are they thinking about, their own questions that they have, so I would encourage anyone out there to do that. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I would too. And on just to add to that, I can't quote it verbatim, but Warren Benson has a quote about
Mhm.
wishing that he could hear more conductors use language that is conducive to music, and it's a long thing, but I'll tell you something I did. And you said the idea of listening, something I did, and this wasn't until I got to my doctorate. I wish I had done this, and I would encourage everybody to do this, is to keep a little notebook and just write down what people say in a rehearsal. I was doing that with Steve Davis. Steve was my professor, and Steve had a way of saying things differently than I would, but getting the same result. So if he says to the trombones, can you be more graceful at measure 37? He's telling them not to like kill me with sound, to soften the articulation, to start listening around so that you're not offending everybody. I would have said that earlier, trombones at measure so and so, could you play softer and make the front of the notes whatever. Like I would have been very specific, and that's good. If I'm talking to a younger player, it's important to have specific data. But if we could take that and add to it, trombones, this needs to be more graceful. Can you? Now I'm talking to the younger player, and then I provide the specifics. I wish I'd written down all of these things over time so that my vocabulary would have been much greater in tying together the emotional side of music with the actual nuts and bolts that we have to teach in public education, or in really in all instrumental education. But that's something I wish that I had done in terms of listening more, is write stuff down and
Yeah,
then try to work that into my own vocabulary in such a way that it's helping me be a better teacher on the podium.
I've now that I'm thinking about the question more too, I think one thing, not the thing, but like one thing that I wish I had known or someone had said is, you don't have to know it all right now. You're not going to know it all right now. And I'm a perfectionist. Anyone that knows me, like, I obsess about every small detail in every possible way. And now that I've been teaching for 25, oh my word, 25. um, I've been teaching a long time, and since I started, I mean, it's easier now, but I still feel like I'm in a separate room than all the smart bucket. I
Mm,
don't see the smart bucket often, but um, I'll tell you, I freaked out about it. I mean, I was obsessed about. Okay, this didn't sound great today. Clarinets aren't articulating well. Trumpets aren't centering. Trombone slides are this. Pick your thing. Why didn't I know that? Why couldn't I hear it? Why couldn't I
mm.
preemptively or proactively work it out? Finally, I would just like tell myself, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's one thing I did do in my first year that was really helpful, and that was Mark Harmon was the director of bands at Newman Smith High School when I was hired. And during concert season, I mean, you think about it, you get on the podium, there's just so much stuff coming at you, and it's challenging to dissect all of that sound without having really kind of a process for doing that. Like the directed listening model. I know, I just putting that plug in there, but I didn't have that at that point. And Mark Harmon, he just basically said, look, you need to record your rehearsals every day. And then after, sit down with your score and listen and write down the things you didn't hear during rehearsal. And in doing so, it sensitizes your ears to listen for those things more clearly when you're actually on the podium. Because there were times I would sit down and listen to the recording, and obviously you can stop and rewind and be like, ooh, I totally missed something that was egregious. Missed it in real time. But then, and as you do that more and more, it does sensitize your ears to be paying attention to, all the different things that are happening. And you are able to, your brains and your ears begin to work together to help you dissect sound, and you get better at it as you practice. So I would say that as a first year teacher, if you're not recording your rehearsals and then listening to them, sometimes it's hard because
It's reality. It's
yeah,
reality.
you press play and you're like, oh, turn that off. It's like when we turn the metronome on and then the
Yeah,
ensemble's not with it and
it's
then we
the
just turn it
truth.
off. Like, no, the ensemble, clearly the metronome is like the police of time, and turning it off doesn't solve the problem. But the same thing with the tape player, or I don't know what we use now to record stuff.
Tape
Haven't done
player.
it all.
You've been teaching for
It's
25
I
years too,
was
that
just
sounds like.
a tape player, but
So I
now I
do
use
think this
video.
is an important time because we haven't talked about this yet, but it's time to. We need to plug the directed listening model. You want to talk about it?
No, you go. The
So,
genesis was with you, my friend.
well, so for anybody listening, we have and a colleague in Germany, Christoph Breitach, who is a brilliant educator and artist.
Mm-hmm.
The like three of us wrote a book that is codifying how to take the subject matter of instrument and ensemble pedagogy and create a system to help conductors and players orally analyze sound from the podium. What I was coming to realize in my dissertation really was that there's no codified way to teach people how to listen to sound. By the way, this is not error detection. That's totally different.
Yeah, very
I
different.
mean, it's a part of it. I guess it could be tangentially related, but it's not this. I mean, trying to understand how to orally analyze and dissect music is complicated. So much so that I surveyed the top 36 conducting textbooks at the time. This was in about 2006, 2007 time. Um, of those 36 conducting textbooks, they talked about oral analysis and how to orally analyze sound twice in 36 books. One was in chapter 9 of 11, and the second was in the appendices, and they were very, very short. And from there, and I remember talking to you, David, because we've been friends a very long time, and I'm like, there's got to be a system for this. You know what? Heck with it. I'm just going to create one. And
Right.
and so my dissertation topic started this. But then after that, we taught and we all used it and tried it, and we realized that wasn't really quite it. That was like version 1.0. But then
Right.
we creatively came up with this new system that is based on the old one, but it's actually a very helpful tool. By the way, it's currently being used as a resource in ensemble settings, college settings on 4 continents. Over 20 countries use it. It's actually pretty great. So if anyone's wanting to check this out, this is a very specific resource. And David, I think you have it.
Yeah, I have a copy. I'm just gonna kind of see it in the screen. Well, it's a bit of a. There is a glare from my screen, but I was going to show you if you can see it. I know some of you are listening, but this is what it's based off of, and it looks like an atom. But in the center of the atom is what we all strive for, which is the highest level of artistry, regardless of what age level. We want them to play artistically, to play beautifully. But we decided, like, okay, as we're getting on the podium, there are things that kind of create that. It's not automatic. And students aren't, like, we don't just arrive with an instrument and have all this innate skill, listening, awareness, and so forth. So this model breaks it down into component parts that you can they're tactile. We can talk specifically about these component parts, whether it's time and pulse, whether it's sound, body of sound, or balance. And we title these things a little bit differently. But in the book, if you think about an atom, all these things are rotating around and supporting the strength of this molecule, if you will. And in the center is artistry. And then we ended up creating a Venn diagram in the middle, which is the intersection of conceptual musicianship, which is things that we can create. What's a good word for it? I mean, conceptual is the word, but it's more concrete. We can,
yeah, it's kind of like tempo manipulations or stylistic manipulations or dynamic
exactly
manipulations.
And then there's another side, which is abstract musicality, and those are the things that are more part of who we are as humans, what our life experiences are like, what we've listened to, all the different things that make us who we are. And the intersection of those is artistry. But again, all held together by time and sound and balance. So it is a unique resource because there's not anything out there that's like this, but it's designed to help not only the teacher, but the students communicate in the same language, to understand what it is they're listening for, how they're communicating back and forth about the creation of music. So we'd love for you to check it out. There's a website, directedlisteningmodel.com. And we're currently self-publishing, but very soon we're switching over. I'm very excited about this. We're going to be exclusively distributing through Chose Music. So this is the first time we've announced it. So I'm excited to share that.
And and this is the English version. So anyone listening to these episodes in Europe, it's also available in German. We actually wrote it first in German. So we actually wrote a book that we can't read. That one is through Hebling. Hebling. And so it can be found there. I was also just corrected. Thank you. It's actually in 5 continents now, which is really great. So if we have anyone in South America listening and you check it out, we would love that, because that would add the 6th.
And who corrected you, John?
My lovely wife.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks, Jens.
Anyway, so no, it's a wonderful resource. We'd love to share it with you and talk to you about it too. It's something that we love talking about, and it's something that once you digest it, it takes a little time to digest. You can see immediate changes in your ensemble. Hear immediate changes in your ensemble as well. So, yeah, let's go on to the next question. So this is for you, John.
Okay.
How do you balance pushing students while still keeping band enjoyable?
That's a great question.
He doesn't. Friends.
Yeah. I mean,
his students hate him.
Tears and yeah. I think this is an important question. It's important for all of us to remember that band is supposed to be fun. It just is. We have a saying in our office that I really mean it. It's just band.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, we are in an extremely visible program all over the world. But at the end of the day, it's just band. What is my job? My job is to make students love music, love art, engage with it in a safe space, a challenging space, in an artistic space. But at the end of the day, it's just band. And it's supposed to be fun. So I approach every rehearsal. I try to have students laugh at every rehearsal. Not that a laughter always equates to fun, but it's a pretty good indicator. But two, are students smiling? Are they engaging? Are they excited to come to your band room every day? Um, and by the way, are they good? Students want to be good. And so, how is that done? By having high expectations, by teaching fundamentals, by uh, by by teaching fundamentals, you can then you can achieve the highest artistic product possible. And by the way, that is for any ensemble that any of us have, and that could be beginning band, that could be choir, didgeridoo ensemble, marching band, drum corps, whatever it is. I mean, it's all built on these things. You're trying to achieve the highest artistic product possible. How is it done? Through proper fundamentals. I'll tell you, Nick Saban, I'm a big fan of his, and how he leads or how he led his teams at Alabama. It's about the fundamentals, 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 fundamentals. And if you have to be cheesy about it sometimes, so let's put the fun in fundamentals today, kids. I mean, do whatever you got to do to make them realize the importance of that, because ultimately they want to play well, they want to be good, you know. But I think it's important for us, and I really think it's important for us to create. You were talking about it at the beginning, about lifelong learners, but I also think it's our job too to create a lifelong consumers of art.
Hmm.
Where I teach in my ensemble, the marching band here at Michigan, we have 400 students, and 93.6% of them aren't studying music. So they are doing that just for fun. And those are the people that are going to go and engage in community theater and support community bands, play in community orchestras, do all the things, right? And if I teach them every day that art is fabulous, that art is fun, art is engaging, art is life, art is human existence, these kinds of things, they aren't platitudes. It's real. I mean, as we've all seen, whenever all hell breaks loose, I mean, COVID, what's the first thing we all did for COVID? We turned to art. That's what got us through it, right? So I mean, it's real, it's important, it's so that I take this very seriously, but also when I was teaching beginners and I was teaching middle school, I thought it was uber important to make sure that the students wanted to come to band more than any other class. How did I make that environment positive, engaging, exciting, um, even while we're spending the majority of our time on fundamentals, like two quarter notes? I will never forget this. I knew that I had succeeded one time because the students in class couldn't articulate, like we would have a pass off for every single note, right? So you can articulate one quarter note, and until you articulated it correctly, you couldn't go to two. When you go to two, then only if the first two are correct, you can go to three. There was one kid made it in February, and he was running down the hallway. I got to articulate four quarter notes today. I still vividly remember that. And I'm
That's
like, you know
hilarious.
what? There it is. And so it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be this. Let me just say it this way: make your students love music. And if you're not, I would highly encourage you to reevaluate some things. That's just my thought. How about you?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I, you said something a second ago that resonated with me is that students don't want to be bad at something.
No.
They want to be good. And part of that, we know that they need the fundamentals. We know that they need to learn what posture looks like and what it feels like. They need to know what I talked about brass pedagogy last week on a project John and I were working together. We talked about what the face looks like, and I have a brass face checklist. And my students, we would go through that checklist and boom, 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 boom. And I'd have them do it down the row. It was a game of like, how fast can we do our checklist? We had a posture checklist. It was all a game. So I think for me, I know that I want to achieve, and I think about with everything musically, what is the end look like? And I have to keep the end in mind so that I can then plan for what now needs to look like. And for a young kid, like they need to be engaged more quickly, like change gears very quickly. And I've seen John do this in a middle school rehearsal very, very well. They're playing and you can see they're checking out. Everyone raise your right hand. And then they raise their right hand, and then, okay, everyone put your left hand down. And they put the right hand down like it's their, oh, and they, they all kind of like have a good laugh time, and it takes about 10 seconds, and then they're back to playing music because they just needed that quick change and then back into the thing that he needed them to do. And I did the same thing with fundamentals and finding ways to create that energy within a rehearsal, because I wanted the little kids to enjoy playing their instruments. And I'll tell you, like, I did an oboe bassoon class I guess it was my second year to teach. And I'm not an oboist or a bassoonist. I didn't know the things I didn't know about those two instruments. I could write volumes about now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a quest to figure out how to do this. And I knew that I wanted them to be able to sustain a sound with no bumps. So I wanted their airstreams to be, I would use the term constant, steady, and smooth. How did I do that? I had a specific way on trumpet. Like with brass, I have a way that I do it with. I didn't know how to do this on this. I did know how to make their embouchures. Like I could get the embouchure. We got that. We practiced with their reeds. And then I decided I had this tuner that had a needle. Back in the day, they had needles. I don't know what they have now, but they had a needle. And it was a very sensitive little needle. And I would have them crow on their reeds. And on an oboe, it should be a C, should octave Cs. So could they hold that needle steady? And the contest was how long before the needle moved. So we're working on getting air to move at a constant rate through the reed, and them understanding what that feels like, and then watching this little needle to see if they win or not. And I'm not kidding you. I just made this up on the spot because I need them to do something that before I put this thing in the instrument, I need them to understand the fundamentals of how their air is going to generate sound in this instrument. Like if I get their embouchure, great, but their air doesn't work. Well, and I didn't know how to do it. And I don't know that that's the right way to do that, to be honest with you.
Well, but it's
At
an
the
important
time,
point to make. And I'm going to pause you just for a second because
yeah,
this is so important. Get it right now.
Yeah.
Get it right at the beginning. Oh, I'll fix it later is not a good system. Sorry, keep going. I want
no,
to
that's significant.
this.
That is significant. That reminds me, we had Lynn Jackson on this season, and Lynn, she teaches at SMU, which is Southern Methodist University in Dallas, and she does music ed courses there. And she is she is a lifelong music educator, and she taught in the Richardson School District, and just a phenomenal person, phenomenal musician, but a phenomenal beginner educator. Like she knows the instruments better than anybody else that I know.
It's true.
And what I remember specifically, one thing she talked about was like, the embouchure must be correct at the beginning. It must be. Everything else is second to that thing. And I didn't know that at first because, sometimes I taught trumpet. We opened up the method book, and on all band method books, recent method books, it's either second line G or C below the staff. And it was funny because she and I joked about if a student plays a low C on a trumpet, they are, I can tell you their embouchure is done. Like they will not play above an A in the staff anytime during that year. That's it. The problem with that is the range of the trumpet goes significantly higher than a low C. So like really third space C is the sort of the center point if you think about trumpet range from low F sharp up to high C. So, well, it's really double G if we're thinking about total literature. And what's interesting about that, none of the books start there. And I'll tell you the reason why. The embouchure has to precede all of the other things. If I can get a kid, this is on trumpet, to do correct embouchure, so correct face, they show me their brass player's face, we go through that checklist, boom, and then I had them blow air against my hand, and I'm not only feeling whether or not they're using constant, steady, smooth air, I'm looking at their jaw placement. Where's that air on my hand? Is it hitting down lower on my arm? Is it right in the center of my hand? But I'm taking all this information and knowing that if I can get their embouchure and their air to do the right thing before I ever put the trumpet on their face, they will play a great sound, and they'll do so in the middle range of the instrument. And they won't play a low C. That's a long story to say. If I had just said, look, make a buzzing sound on the mouthpiece, stick that on the instrument, they're going to play a low C probably 5 out of 10 times. And now I'm going to spend the next well, if they don't quit band, I'm going to spend the next 6 years trying to get them up to a high C. So I'm not setting them up for success, which that's something I think we really do have to think about. Keep the end in mind. Do we want our students to be able to play a high C at the end of their first year? Yes. Okay. What does that look like? How do I get them there? And backward, kind of looking at that backward planning, going, okay, what do I do now that's going to make that work? Because I know the question was about keeping band fun and students in and all that, but ultimately, if students, this is my experience, if students are feeling success, even if it's doing those 4 notes in a row articulation wise, they're excited about the success, and I can create energy around that. But if I give them the wrong information and limit their success because of that information, ouch, it was on me as the teacher.
I
And
talked to my music ed students about the end, beginning with the end in mind.
yeah,
And every time I tell the story about the statue David uh, in Florence, and about how he took this piece of marble that most people said was completely useless and created something that I would say one of the most perfect
yeah,
pieces of anything in the world ever in the history of time from that thing with the end in mind is just remarkable. But that's what we
yeah,
have to do every day with teaching teaching music.
yep. All right, ask me another
So,
question.
all right, the next one from the readers. What's the best advice you've ever gotten about managing a rehearsal?
Talk less. That's it. Talk less.
For
I could elaborate, but I don't think I have to. Like, I think we've all probably heard it.
yes,
We use 5 minutes to say something we could say in 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And we lose students, we lose engagement, we lose momentum. Talk less. And it's not necessarily play more. Like, yes, you do need to keep playing, I think, but just finding ways to say the thing you're going to say with the least amount of syllables possible. Talk less. How about you?
excuse me, and for me, I'm all choked up about it. Excuse me, sorry.
Thanks, John.
Um, you're never gonna know the score well enough.
Hmm.
You think you do, but you don't. And even people, my a former colleague, Michael Haythcock, knows Lincolnshire Posey better than probably anyone, even better than Granger, I would argue. you know,
Right.
and he still doesn't know the score well. He's even said that. Like the guy is genius. And what I take from this is score study is more important than what you realize. And where I see most teachers fail are in 2 areas. One, they don't know the score. 2, they don't know the subject matter that they're teaching.
Hmm.
And I think you have to have a command of both of those. And I know that's kind of harsh to say, but I would argue the majority of teachers that I've seen have a deficiency in one of those areas, if not both.
Right.
And that's something that you're going to need to have an honest conversation about yourself. I was judging a state concert band festival this past weekend, and there were many fantastic ensembles in the state. And I'll tell you what, the amount of times that I commented on either not understanding the score or not understanding the subject matter was pretty significant. So I would argue that we all need to learn, and we are lifelong learners on this. But the
Hmm.
best way to manage a rehearsal is to be efficient. How do you be efficient? Know exactly what you're talking about. Because oftentimes, if people don't understand exactly what they're talking about, they're going to talk in circles and say the same thing 5 times in a row, just and not really say anything about it.
Hmm.
So that's my advice
Yeah.
there.
Score study is important. And everybody does it differently. Everybody has kind of their way. And sometimes it's not, it's something you just kind of picked up. No one ever gave you like, here's a great method for learning scores or studying scores. I've struggled for a long time. I did struggle for a long time on figuring out how do I want to approach a specific score. And it took me a while to come to that. I would tell everyone that's listening, like, score study it's a process as well that you get stronger at and you get better at. And some things become more important. You're able to analyze them more quickly, and use the score to your advantage versus always trying to figure things out. That does come along. I'm going to put a little plug in here. It'll already have aired by the time you're hearing this, but I am starting. It's already going, a score study club. I'm calling it. I forget what I called it.
Oh, the
Well,
Maestro
it's
Mind.
within a conducting studio called Maestro Mind, but then I've opened up a score study section of that will be free. It'll be open. We'll do it once a month, kind of like a book club, and we'll pick a score, and all you got to do is listen to it before we meet. And then we'll spend about an hour talking about it, digging into it, and learning about it together. And just, talking, getting some feedback. My wife just told me it's Measure by Measure is the title of my it'll be a Zoom call, Maestro Mind, Measure by Measure. So in any case, one last question, and then we got a couple of last things, and then we'll wrap this up. So, John, what is one small change that had a big impact on your program?
It's an excellent question. There have been many, and I will give you two. First of all, trust the players, trust your students. That's something that I learned way too late. And I think I could have been much more effective as a connector with people, having better musical interactions. Even in the beginner classroom that I was in, we could have done a better job. I could have done a better job connecting to them if I trusted them more. Now, my default is always to trust the players, and I think that that fundamentally changed how I taught, the rehearsal process, the product that was achieved, like the whole thing. And then secondly, seek the feedback from your students and ask them the honest questions. And this has also fundamentally changed how I interact with students. We ask our students every month to evaluate every aspect of our program. I mean, like, from the rehearsal efficiency, am I being effective? Do they care for the music? Are the size of the apples okay? How's the temperature of the water? I mean, we survey everything. And we like go through and analyze every answer from every student. And at times it's challenging to read sometimes because they're honest,
Yeah.
and so it's taught me to have a thick skin. But I think it's important because at the end of the day, it's their experience. It's not about us. And so I would encourage that. How about you?
Yeah. I'm not honestly going to add to those. I'm gonna affirm them because I agree with both of them, and I did not do them soon enough in my career. And one of the two things that if someone asked me, like, tell me about your doctorate, what did you learn? The first one was to trust the players implicitly. No matter how I felt in rehearsal, we're not getting this, we're not far enough along. Trust the players. Create an environment where they feel you believe in them regardless.
Right.
Because then if there is something that needs to be accomplished, we're on more of a collaborative plane than I'm going to tell you information and you're going to do information and then this gets better. And that role from the podium, I learned way too late that I need to be collaborating with these kids. And I want to kind of go back to this in season 1. This would have been with Cindy Lansford and well, just about everybody we've talked to. This is really about the kids. And we're not the kids. Kids could be whomever, 6th graders, 5th graders, 4th graders, college students, young professionals, people sitting in a community ensemble. They are our students. They are our collaborators. And music is collaborative. So I would just maybe just add to it as calling it collaborative. And I'll tell you the part about getting feedback. What I love about John in his statement is that he's doing this often. It's not like you're doing it once. You're doing it more often, and you're not doing
Every
it
month.
because someone said, "Hey, we need feedback." Like, no, genuinely want to know how they're doing, how they're feeling about how this thing is going. And again, I think that adds to this collaborative space that we want you to have a wonderful experience. And we as the teachers are helping to create that environment. So I think that's fantastic. Absolutely. So,
Can I just add one more thing?
oh, absolutely.
I want to underscore the point that this is not about us.
Mm-mm.
We see it too often. It's not. And I think that you need to check your ego at the door. I'll just be honest about it. Like, I am so cautious about this. Every decision I make, every piece I program, all the things, pick the list. Is it in the best interest of the students? Is it in the best interest of the program? Or is it about me? And if the answer is anywhere near me, we're not doing it.
Yep.
That's not the point.
I love it. Before we jump into some kind of bookkeeping, record keeping things we have to talk about before we wrap up, John, tell me about your summer plans. I hear you're taking a trip to Germany.
We
What's
are
going on?
indeed. So the Light University of Michigan Marching Band is going to Europe in June, and we're going to be there for 18 days doing a tour of Germany, Austria, and France.
I love it.
And it's going to be a performance exchange, cultural exchange,
Mm-hmm.
educational exchange. We'll be taking the band to a school. We're going to be doing a couple concerts by ourselves. We'll be doing some side by side concerts with the Police Orchestra Band. Johann Mozambiquer, who
Mm-hmm.
is Verena Mozambiquer's father.
Right.
And so it's going to be an outstanding trip. I'm so excited about that. I'm
I
going to be
love it.
heading overseas for another trip in a couple weeks. And actually, this will be the first time, David, that we haven't been to Europe together in the summer in about 15 years.
I'm sad about it. Maybe next summer. I'm just can't make it happen this time around.
I
But
understand, but
I am looking
trust me,
forward to
I'll
the
be
next time.
FaceTiming you every day.
Yeah,
You'll be
absolutely.
there with us. And anyway, so how about you? What's going on?
You know, I just launched. Well, I just mentioned a moment ago, but I launched. It's a virtual conducting studio called Maestro Mind. It's just on Facebook right now. I'll probably end up adding Instagram and some other things, but I'm really excited about it because I polled a few different people and asking them. I was noticing something out in the field, and it was that I'm hearing really great ensembles. I'm hearing ensembles that sound good, but I'm watching conductors that are struggling with how they look and like what they're communicating from the podium. And I know that sometimes it's difficult because we as teachers we get so wrapped up in the things we have to do to get our bands to where we want them and so forth. But some of them almost look like there was just so much tension and things that were like I know they were counterproductive
Yeah.
for the music. So then it got me thinking, like, I had 2 semesters of conducting. I guess most people probably have 1 or 2 semesters of undergraduate conducting. And then you go do the job and you do the job for 30 years and you never, that you had 2 semesters, which were, these are usually 1 hour, maybe 2 hour classes. These are not, mine were twice a week, 1 hour.
Oh yeah, right, exactly.
So like they're not 3 hour courses and you're not, so I just got to thinking, unless you go back to get a master's or a doctorate like we have, there's not a lot of development for really movement, for how we look, how we're communicating. And I kind of was like, why? Why is that? And I could be wrong on this, but I think it's probably a bit threatening
Yeah,
to
sure.
like air your dirty laundry. Like, okay, I'm going to put this out. So, are are people going to go to a conducting symposium if they know, like, okay, I have to go conduct the Stravinsky Octet at this particular university? I'm like, I'm just trying to make my middle school band sound better, or sound better than it does. That's not necessarily applicable. So I don't know. I asked some people, say, hey, do you think this would be beneficial where people could send in a video to me and then I can provide live feedback about the video and then push it back out there. And then we just create a dialogue that helps them move forward every 2 weeks. It's twice a week. Sorry, every 2 weeks or once a month. That's the options. and just see what that looks like. And so far, I've had good feedback. I've sent out some lessons already, and it's just been exciting to see people go, "Oh my goodness, this is so helpful." And I made an immediate change today, and the students responded immediately. So it's cool. I'm excited about it. It's starting off as the virtual program, but then we'll have a private rehearsal room for the group itself. And then obviously I started the measure by measure, which is the score study portion, but that's open to everybody because I just think it'll be a cool book club for all of us. So
This is
that's
such
my summer,
and
kind of getting that
it's
going and then
such an
making sure
important
that it's,
resource.
yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And I'm hoping it's not there yet, but I'm hoping that I can tie that into actual them getting professional development credit at some point. Because if
Right.
you're going to be enrolled in a coaching program, boy, that'd be great if that could be helpful, over time. So working on it, knock on wood. So,
Great.
yep. Let's see what's next. Let me go to my notes here from our producers, Theresa. Let's see.
We're supposed to tell people to keep an eye on our socials during the summer.
Socials over the summer, stuff that's coming up. And then we also have a new segment. And this one I am excited about it. I think I saw a post that Theresa put out recently, which is we're going to start doing every week in our next season a segment we call Standing Ovation. And it is to highlight music educators that are doing a wonderful job for their kids. And we'll have a link for you to nominate someone, and it'll always be in our show notes. So when you listen, wherever you listen to whatever platform, in the notes, there will be a link for you to submit. Here's a person that you've been observing doing a fantastic job. You want to nominate them for recognition on the podcast. So we'll give them a standing ovation. So be looking for that, and please submit people that you see. It only takes like 2 minutes to get that in. So submit them. We'll go through them and start getting that taken care of, and those people recognized, and shout outs to them. And
There's
then we
also a survey,
also,
right, David? There's
yeah,
a
we're going to do
survey.
a survey. And yeah, John, tell us about that.
So just everyone, just keep an eye out for a listener survey that's going to be going out during the summer. We would love your feedback on things that can improve, topics that you want us to talk about, if that you want David to talk less. I mean, whatever you want, it would be. It would.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Use
just
only 3 words.
exactly. Just like, why does John stutter? Thought he was smarter than that. Anyway, those kinds of things. So please keep an eye on that, because we do value feedback, and it's going
Yes.
to help to guide the future. So
Yeah, so we will be back in September for season 3. In the
season 3.
meantime, we will have content that's coming out over the summer. So, keep an eye on our socials, and also we'd love for you to really reflect on the season and go back and listen. If you got some time, go back and listen and share this with your friends and other colleagues. And I'll tell you, it does help us when you listen. If you hit that like button or a little heart button, if you hit the share button, if you comment, this is something I really hope in season 3 that we can encourage. Put your comments. I know you have some thoughts. Put your comments down there so that we can see them and react to them in upcoming episodes. That's really helpful. If you have a suggestion, like here's a topic I'd really like to hear about, or a suggestion for a particular guest you'd like to hear from, send us a DM on our Facebook Common Time Podcast Facebook page. We already have some guests booked and lined up, but we still have some room to work in some other projects. So we're always open to suggestions there. So,
Indeed.
John,
And
any final thoughts?
yeah, first, well, I have many, but first thought is I want to thank all of you who are participating in this.
Mm-hmm.
Our viewership is increasing significantly, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're just trying to put together something that's going to be helpful for you in the profession, to help your students have a great experience. And so that's why we're doing this. But I am thankful every day for so many reasons. And for this, one, I get to be here with my best friend in the world, whom I love
Yes.
dearly. Two, I think we also get to talk to some of the best and brightest in the business, and I think that is really cool. I mean, I cherish that, because
Yeah.
after every episode, I'm like, man, I didn't know eight things that person just said. That's awesome. I've been teaching for 25 years, so I think that's really good, but also too, just having these conversations is invigorating and inspiring for me, right?
It
It's like,
is. I love them.
I just walk out going, that was awesome. It's incredible.
Yeah, I leave excited. It's something that going inside of me, and I love it. And I'll tell you, this is our first, we're not even really a year into this, and we're right at 10,000 downloads, which is incredible. When John says thank you, we are so thankful that you're listening. And hopefully we're making a difference in helping you out there in the field do what we all want to do, which is help kids play music and love making music together. So I do want to reiterate, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking the time and kind of believing in us to bring you this kind of content. And I will say the same as what John said. I leave sometimes blown away by our guests. They're incredible. I'm like, man, I wish I had just wish someone had told me this earlier. And that whole concept of being a lifelong learner, that's why we're doing this. And it's helping us. And we hopefully in the next year, we continue to help you. So I think that's it for season 2, John.
That's it. Season 2 done.
Season 2 is a wrap. Thanks, everyone. We look forward to seeing you in the fall. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Common Time Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and we'd love it if you shared with your friends as well. We'll see you next time, but until then, keep making music and keep making a difference.